XboxEra is about to enter its 5th year, and that's all thanks to you. If you're new here, let me fill you in. XboxEra is a platform for the Xbox community with best-in-class forums, a kick-ass Discord server, and of course XboxEra.com, chock full of the latest news, reviews and more, all focused on your favourite platform, Xbox. It's every Xbox fan's gateway to the best of XboxEra. Our incredible podcast listened to in over 50 countries across the planet, our own digital store for games and codes, our merch store for the coolest of Xbox threads, and of course Dayone, where you can track, rate and discuss your favourite games on Xbox Game Pass. XboxEra is built for you, and it's completely funded by you. If you value having a publication truly focused on your preferred place to play, you can support us directly via Patreon. Just head to patreon.com/XboxEra. You get cool swag and awesome perks, and we get to keep doing what we do. Become a part of the best Xbox community on the internet and help us build the next 5 years of XboxEra. Thank you for your support. Hello friends, and welcome to another episode of XboxEra Headlines. The date is Hellblade 2 Day, May 21st, 2024. I'm Sik and and I'm joined by Jesse as always as we talk you through the latest in gaming news from across the industry. As a bonus for our lovely, beautiful patrons, we make audio versions of these episodes available to them in the Patreon app. But if you have an account with Spotify, you can link your account and listen to it right there. Hi, Jesse. How are you on this fine Tuesday morning?
Well, for anyone who has a hard time understanding, most podcasts, when they're live, end up going early to let people gather in and join and feel like they're not going to miss. You don't just go live and immediately start. It's not TV. It's not scheduled a month ahead of time. We are always live right on the dot, either at 10 a.m. for this show or 6 p.m. for the podcast. And then, unlike most shows, we immediately get up really good timestamps. So there you go.
That's true. I sense your patience is thin patience.
Next time, instead of 8 minutes, I'm going to make it 9, and then 10, and then 11, and then 12. People who actually come here and watch the show every day will know it starts at 10, so they won't care.
Yeah.
But yeah,
true.
Good morning. How you doing?
Hi. Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. You okay? Deep
wonderful.
breaths, bro. Deep breaths.
My.
Yeah,
I'm calm.
You're calm. I'm calm. It's been a morning. I'm going to tell you a funny story this morning. So
See
obviously,
you, Gorgon.
Oh dear.
It's a troll day. People are showing up to try and take victory laps for their list warring, and they can fuck off. How are you doing, John?
We literally don't need you. We have a great community, and we're happy to have them. I'm going to tell you an amusing story to start my day before we get into Hellblade 2.
Another one
because
to go?
it's tentatively Hellblade 2 related, right? So it's a school run day. It's my daughter's birthday. So after I did the round table with the VGC team and Senua and Stacey, I had to get all the house ready for birthday girl celebrations in the morning. Did all that. She woke me up at 5. Whatever, it's her birthday. So we had breakfast together and we did opening presents and off I took her to school. She's got a school trip today. Bye kids. Now a friend of mine normally gives me a lift back in the morning and I saw her and she didn't look very well. And after she dropped her daughter back, she started throwing up. Right, and she's got her 1-year-old in the car. I'm like, oh my God, are you okay? And she's like, no, I'm really ill. I started at 3 a.m. last night. I'm watching the premiere counting down on my phone. I'm like, I really need to get back. But I couldn't leave her. So I did all of the premiere stuff from my phone this morning, hence why there was a slight delay with the tweet. And I didn't actually get back in through the front door till about 9:20. But it was a bit of a carnage morning. She is okay, thankfully. But yeah, it was a bit chaotic. Much like the internet this morning, following all of the reviews going live for Hellblade 2. What are we calling this one? Mixed? Polarizing? Is that the word we're using this time around?
Mostly positive. By far more positive. So the thing with aggregate websites, what's a top critic and what's your weighting? So people always say like, "Oh, you're dragging the Metacritic up." And it's like, we have no weighting on Metacritic. Our review means nothing. Like, our review is like 1/20th the weight of IGN's. So like if IGN gives something a 7 and we give it a 9, it's not an 8. It's not a 7.8. It's not a 7. It's like a 7.1. Like that's what the aggregate would be between us.
7.0001.
Yeah. So on the whole, mostly incredibly positive. It is very much, I think you and I would agree, Hellblade 2. Senua Saga Hellblade 2. Got to say the full thing. Very much if you enjoyed the first game, you should enjoy this one, even though there's a shocking number of reviews that said, I love the first game, and then list all their problems with the second game, which were actually, I think, worse in the first game, like walking simulator, repetitive puzzles, repetitive combats. Like, combat's way better. It's a little streamlined. You don't have the useless punch or kick. It's also not too easy. You and I know that game starts with dynamic difficulty. So if you struggle,
you have to switch it to hard if you want a challenge.
If you struggle want a challenge a lot, it makes it very easy. It never did for me, but that's what I've now noticed it did for others who were like, this was way too easy. It was like, oh, you probably died or didn't combo or didn't, do much early on, huh? Because if you just think it's easy, then you probably sucked early on. The game made it nice and easy for you, and you never went into the difficulty option. So a little bit of a self-tell. But yeah, it was your review, John. What do you think, for anyone who hasn't watched it yet?
So, personal opinion, and to speak a little to that, I played Hellblade 2 over, like, in terms of my first kind of playthrough. I played a lot more of it in different guises and different bits and different chapters since then. But I played my first playthrough of it in 2 sittings. I took about 7, maybe 7.5 hours all in all. But I did a bit of exploring and wandering around and a lot of screenshot taking. I think I took something like 199 video clips and 150 odd screenshots in my time. And it's, in my opinion, and this is the thing here, people, reviews are opinions. It is, if I look at the genre of what it is, which is a narrative adventure, right? If that's the genre we're going to label it with, walking simulator always seems a bit derogatory. So narrative adventure, it is the best narrative adventure I've ever played. In fact, I would say it's the best narrative adventure in the genre. Right up there, in my opinion, which is the another walking simulator game that I gave a 10 to, What Remains of Edith Finch. This one, Hellblade, is more cinematic. It's more mature in its storytelling. The themes are just as mature. But everything about it, if I was going to be really unkind to Ninja Theory and Hellblade 2, I would say that it is the same game in terms of its mechanics, just everything, every single thing you could possibly imagine is dialed up to 11. The graphics are it's just stupid. They're the best thing you'll ever see on a console. The audioscape that you're going to be listening to when you're playing is absolutely bonkers. The fidelity and the brutality of some of the combat animation is out of this world, and the story is much grander, deeper, and I think better, personally. But yeah, as you said, Jesse, there are a lot of takes out there that kind of say, I loved all of these things, but now I hate them. And I'm like, it doesn't compute for me. I don't agree with those opinions, but they're just opinions. Don't let them hurt
Did you experience this game the way God intended? By streaming it remote play to like a phone with the sound off?
No. I played it, and it's funny. I put up a video on XboxEra. If you guys want to see what it looks like on an ultra-wide top-end PC, there's a video there for you to go and watch if you want to see without the letterboxing. It ran beautifully for me on my machine. You have to use NVIDIA DLSS when you're running at max to get a steady, plus 60. I think I was running at something between 80 and 90 FPS. But I only did that for like that 35-minute recording and maybe an hour of experimentation here and there. The whole campaign, the full playthrough, the first playthrough was on my console because I couldn't say no to the 86-inch LG. It was just, this is bonkers, and I was absolutely astounded the whole way through, like jaw on the floor. Like the stuff that we haven't been able to show you as part of the review that will come out as the day goes on is absolutely bonkers. Like, you know what I'm talking about, right?
Mm-hmm. And
like
the fact that at any point,
insane game.
no matter what cutscene, no matter what gameplay segment, you can always just tap up on the D-pad and immediately jump into photo mode. It's like, nothing's ever faked. It's all...
No.
It is one hell of a showcase for finally what Unreal Engine can do. Like Lords of the Fallen and some other things started tickling into that area of tickling the taint, as one is wont to say, of just how good environments can look with Unreal Engine 5, like the density you can get with nanite and all that stuff. But yeah, I got footage. I did a full playthrough on Series X. That's all up on the channel. First 35 minutes, if you don't want any spoilers, up on the channel for Series X and S as well. Looks surprisingly good on an S. But kind of surprised to not see any any Digital Foundry coverage yet. I was just curious.
I think they're working on it. John Milliman's working on it. I'm sure we'll get the breakdown.
Like someone in chat asked, is it a locked 30? I'm like, it feels like a locked 30. I don't know. There might be times it drops, but I also I have VRR, but obviously going all the way down to 30 doesn't really do much, if anything. It's the best looking thing I've ever played. It is the first game, but grander in scope for every part of that game without going into being a different genre. It's still the same narrative, part walking sim, part one-on-one combat now that I find a lot more enjoyable than I did the multi-person combat.
Mm-hmm. Can I talk about
how
the
bad
combat?
it is and how...
No.
No.
It's funny hearing, I was in the VGC roundtable, and look, I'll be honest, I was probably a bit outnumbered in terms of my opinions on the game, and opinions are opinions. They're like arseholes. Everybody's got one. But for me, the stepping away from that, the Hellblade 1 version of combat, which is where the enemies can come from all directions. And I talked a little bit about it at the round table, right? I actually loved the mechanic in the first game where your Furies, these voices that you hear, that Senua hears, like as a gameplay mechanic would be, look out, behind you. And you could instinctively block and catch an enemy coming off of you off camera. That was cool. But the evolution that they've chosen to go with for Hellblade 2, I talked a little bit about it, and I didn't want to show too many of the battles without spoiling some of the crazier stuff. Mm-hmm. But there are sequences in it where it doesn't feel like 1v1 because it's like, and they actually said it, I think in some of the behind the scenes, like the inspiration was Battle of the Bastards for Game of Thrones, where Jon Snow's walking through and he's like taking on people one-on-one and avoiding, and there's just all this stuff happening around it. And because of that, it just feels like you're in the middle of this, like the scope of it is absolutely nuts and astounding to play through.
And very different from the first game, where the first game was you alone the entire time, mostly fighting mind creatures. This is a very different experience in a lot of ways. A lot more... this is real and not is this real. There's still moments of that, obviously, with the psychosis and everything. But some of the criticisms, the cinematography, the writing, the acting, the storytelling, I think are all just miles better. Whether it's a story you enjoy as much or not is going to be a personal thing. But I've seen criticisms where people are acting like... I saw one... someone mentioned in chat where someone was like, I can't ignore the realities of Microsoft shutting studios down while I review this game, so it's going to influence it. And I'm like, it shouldn't. It just, so many of them read like reviewing the publisher and the situation in gaming. Like you're just reviewing everything but the game in your game review. And I hate that. I don't care what it is. I don't care what platform you're on. I don't care what game it is. The actual review should focus on the game. What is the game trying to be? What does the game deliver? What did the game promise to be? I don't care about what PR people around it said. I care about what the actual game itself was
Yeah.
trying to do.
I talked a little bit about that as well. Like, you know, when you got the announce for Hellblade 2, and I think this is fair, right? I'm coming at this from an even keeled perspective, I think. But when the game got announced, and obviously, Microsoft own Ninja Theory now, 2019, here's an announcement for Hellblade 2, the assumption rightly given, and I think it's completely fair, even though they never came out and said this, was, oh, okay, now we're going to see Xbox's God of War. You know, we're gonna see it taken up a notch, right? And you know, you read things and you're like, this is a narrative adventure punctuated by combat, but the primary goal of the game is to convey the story, and I think it does that exceptionally well. The combat and the puzzles are the gamifying elements to convey that story, but all of this serves the narrative because it's a narrative adventure game. So then to pull it apart, you know, criticize its length when following all the assumptions made, Ninja Theory and Microsoft came out and were very clear. This is what's the phrase they used? Independent AAA. So we want to make what we always wanted to make, but with all of the power of the $1 trillion company behind it. I am not advocating that Ninja Theory are somehow indie developers anymore. They are not, but they're trying to convey the same spirit and risk taking in what they make, with the backing of and the technology available to them afforded by the acquisition and so on. And then to see the kind of, oh, well, it's, you know, I wanted more of this and I wish it was, and it's like, well, they told you up front it wasn't going to be that, and it never was going to be that. So what are you reviewing? And I put the line in my review, and it's really nice to see it come to pass. Please review what it is, not what you wish it was.
And it's the
You know?
It's the thing where a lot of people were saying there's been no marketing for the game, probably ignored all the actual marketing where they talked about this being a bigger version of the first game over and over again. Like they constantly talked about that. If you read any of the Xbox Wire posts over the last like 7 days or something they were doing, they did 4 of them. If you watched any of the behind the scenes stuff, like it was very obvious what they were going for. But those are the people who are like, well, they're not marketing it. It was like, well, they are. You're just not watching it because most people who work in the industry don't keep up with most shit. They just don't. I know it can feel overwhelming. There is so much. I get it. It's a busy work day, all that stuff. But if you're not going to keep up with it, then why are you commenting on it all the time?
Yeah.
Like you are.
Nutshell, like underlining it, if the genre is narrative adventure, it raises the bar in that genre in every conceivable way, and that's why it has a 10 for me, because in its genre, it's a 10. All right? I'm not saying it's a 10 if I compare it to God of War or an action RPG or anything like that. I'm saying within its genre, within here's what I'm setting out to do. Well, you did all of those things and then some. 10 out of 10. That's the metric, right? That's it. Couple of super chats. We got Reese here, £5 super chat. Appreciate it, the love, my man. Irrespective of what people think, says Reese, these sorts of games should be celebrated. The effort to make a game like this, its singular focus is so rare. GG. Hell's yeah. And that's the beauty of gaming. And it strikes me, Jesse, it strikes me how many people that cover gaming seem so jaded by it. Seem so miserable about it.
I get.
My God, video games are wonderful things. Why be so sad all the time?
Video games are super fun, but the discourse around them can be very much not. And I think that weighs people down over time, because everything like this isn't a discussion about Hellblade, the game, for most people. It's platform versus platform. Like it's everyone who always goes against toxicity and against platform warring and all that shit invariably come back to it in some way. And not everyone. A lot of people who are like, oh, I'm not into that platform warring and I don't want to constantly complain or focus on the negative. But then invariably it ends up coming back to that because that's what drives engagement so much more easily. It's really hard to be positive and know a lot about something. Like, it's a lot harder. Like, you see it in sports radio. People who talk about sports all the time, they're mostly idiots who have no idea how any of the sports work. So instead, they get into the human interest stuff and just shit on people all the time, and it's miserable. And that's most media coverage. It's not professionally done. There's how many Jason Schreiers and Tom Warrens? Not many.
Not many. sadly.
Even like Jez
We
would
need
say,
more
he's not.
journos.
Jez is learning as he goes along. He wasn't trained for this, but he's learning and trying to do it right. And it's like that's not most of it. Most video game coverage are either influencers or creators or people who got into it so that they can then try and get a job at their favorite publisher or PR company. Like they are not in it because they like games and like covering it. It's a stepping stone to get a job in the industry, which, it's fine.
Perhaps so. Perhaps so. We got another super chat from Jordan Andal, £10 super chat. God damn. I appreciate that, my man. I also reviewed it for the Outer Haven, and I almost completely agree with John. It's a 5 out of 5 with me. Raises the bar and makes smart changes to avoid the weaknesses of the first game. The combat is much better. Yeah, I agree. And hey, look, here's the Outer Haven's review. There's a link in the chat. Go give it a read. Go give these guys some clicks. And then we've got Juan, another super chat in 250. I wish it was pounds. It's DOP. I don't know what that is. I apologize for my ignorance. But Juan says, reviewers be like, Hellblade 2 is a sequel to Hellblade 1, 5 out of 10. What were they expecting?
I think
it's like the first game.
DOP might be Dominican pesos from the Dominican Republic.
Oh, well, I appreciate the education. Thank you, sir.
I grew up in an area of Massachusetts which had a very large Dominican population. Dominican and Puerto Rican, quite a bit.
But honestly, if you're watching this and haven't started yet, if you've started it yet, cool. I'm not. You know what you're doing. But if you haven't started it yet, my advice to you, and it's really interesting. I saw a thread from the brilliant composer Gareth Coker on Twitter earlier today, talking about, do game reviewers, it was an open question to Twitter and game reviewers in particular, do you, when you set out to review a product, do you try and consume it in the way that it was intended? So as per all of the notes from Ninja Theory, please wear headphones, please do this appropriately, don't play it on silly things. Please do it in this way because the story and the audio and the visuals are all meant to come together to be an experience, a narrative adventure experience. And yes, I did. Of course I would. That's how I would want to experience it as a consumer. So of course I'm going to try it that way. It's interesting how many perhaps did not. But yeah, this is the world we live in. I think it's a great game. And if you're going in to play it today, absolutely turn the lights off. Get the best headphones you can possibly have to hand. Whack them on and just sink in. And just go through it and experience it, because I've not played anything like it. It was phenomenal.
The things they put in to encourage at least 3 more playthroughs are really neat once you see them.
Yes, really neat. And I deliberately haven't spoiled it through. I think other people have mentioned it already in their reviews.
The moment the embargo,
the
moment the embargo came up, people started posting the ending online. I'm like, Jesus Christ. I waited hours to even put the playthrough up. Like I waited 4 hours. I don't know. People are.
Yeah. But there you go. I loved it, honestly. There's plenty of. I think there is genuinely plenty of replay value there because of that.
I do think normally don't like calling things up, but PC Gamer's quote of Senua is like a Make-A-Wish kid who got into God of War. Just kind of really shitty. It's a really shitty thing to say. And they're very...
Considering the amount of... look at all the research we did to really make sure that we made this as good as it could possibly be.
And it's like, it's a 5 out of 10. They gave the first game, I think, a 7.8. But most of their complaints are then, I don't know. That line in particular in that review I found extremely shitty.
Distasteful.
Yeah.
Distasteful line. Yeah. But yeah, it's I could gush about it, and I would love to do. And Ninja Theory, if you end up weirdly watching this show, if anyone from Ninja Theory like Don Matthews, I would love to do perhaps in the next week or two ahead a kind of spoiler cast deep dive discussion on the narrative side of the game, with folks from the studio and perhaps Jesse and myself, just for folks that have then experienced it and want to talk about it some more and how they felt about it. And no, we won't ambush you with irrelevant questions that have nothing to do with you or your team. Just saying. Another super chat from LeBurn98. it's been a long time since I've had a game give me that Bioshock moment. Hellblade 2 has done that 2 to 3 times for me throughout my playthrough. Have you finished it, LeBurn? Because if you're only like 2 hours in, hold on to your butt. That, I think there was several points where I was ahead of Jesse, and then he was catching up the next day. And I think at one point you went, "Is this real? Is this real? Is this actually a thing?" And I'm like, "Yeah, it's insane."
It's
really good.
Just actually speaking about the game instead of complaining about other people. Like,
yeah, let's talk about the actual game.
The game, the graphical work they've done, and I'm not normally a huge stickler for graphics or animations. Like they can enhance something, and in this game, it's the most enhanced I've ever felt. Like the scanning technology they've done, not only on the environments, which just look ridiculously dense and huge. Like when you get in some of those open areas and you're just looking for 20 square miles around you and it looks perfect. Obviously you can't go over there and it's not gonna, but the photogrammetry and everything they've done for anything anywhere near you is incredible. Even really good on the Series S, which I was not expecting. Like it feels like the lesser X, not a different product like sometimes the S does, where so much is missing. They all seem to have ray tracing just kind of built right into everything. It's not even a setting on PC to turn ray tracing on or off. It's just like a thing in the overall engine. The facial capture and the facial animations, the digital doubles are like damn near perfect. The only time it ever broke down for me was seeing aliasing in people's hair with FSR or DLSS. If you're playing at native res or if you're in photo mode, there are times where you look at it and you're just like, oh, that's just a picture from their behind the scenes when they were on location or something. Well, like it is.
I love this. You might think that this is like a photo or a nice desktop background. This is captured from Hellblade 2. On PC and in photo mode, and then I've blown it up, and then I've turned on my capture software, and I've just captured you can actually see where I haven't done it right, and the ocean kind of skips a beat here.
The water effects. Oh my, yeah,
so
I know.
Good.
It's better than Sea of Thieves.
I would say though,
on the shore.
Yes, the shoreline stuff is really really cool. The way the waves roll in. There are two. I did spot a graphical. I wouldn't say it's a bug. But I think they're using some sort of, I can't remember what the technical term is for reflections, but what game did it recently? Skull and Bones does the same thing. There are certain things when they're reflected in the water, they reflect the full size image at a certain angle. Mm-hmm. So there are a couple of times in a certain section of the game where you've got a torch of light.
And the torch is enormous.
It looks way too big in the reflection on Xbox Series X. I haven't tested that section yet on PC. And the only thing I would suggest to Ninja Theory as a patch, and I think it's a perfectly reasonable point, and I get why they've done it the way they have, but gamers are gamers, and just go with the flow on this one. There are discoverable, I guess Hellblade's version of audio logs, right? You've got the polls with the stories and the folklore tales. Talkie sticks, and you've got talkie trees now as well, with the stone faces, which are ridiculously cool. When you come across one, you're like, whoa! You have to stay near them to listen to the tale. Mm-hmm. And it would have been lovely if they'd have just allowed you to walk away and hear that come through.
If you go through my playthrough, you'll notice I didn't bother with most of those because I would have had to just stand there for like 45 seconds.
Yeah, it's boring to watch, right? And you were trying to be all cinematic and badass. Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Yeah, but Hellblade 2, honestly, I loved it. I still love it. I can't wait to play through it again.
I'm going to do that tomorrow on PC on this channel. I'm going to start up another playthrough because I have only played Series X. And if you're like, oh, I want to see what it looks like on Series X, the entire game's on our channel now. You can go see it in 4K, which I can't stream at, so it'll look even better. But yeah, I'm looking forward to it. Zero issues with the game's frame rate. It's not a type of you never aim.
Yeah, it's not an issue.
That's the big thing with me and frame rates. If you have control over the camera and you need to aim a lot, 60 FPS is like a mandatory. But outside of that, it's fine.
Yeah, I completely agree. It was a non-issue. Like I could have played at 60 plus. I didn't want to. I wanted to experience it on the biggest screen I possibly could throw it on, and I'm glad I did because goddamn. But yes, there you go. Hellblade 2 out now on Xbox Game Pass. So if you're a subscriber, like honestly, it's not a hugely long game. We're talking like if you're very average at video games, 8 hours probably. You could probably do it in 6 if you rushed through. But if you want to unlock everything, you're easily looking at 2 playthroughs probably to hear everything.
Yeah, and if you want to do all the things you can do once you've beaten it once,
the things
that'd
you
be
can
like
do.
4 playthroughs total.
Yeah.
So,
and I have seen, I can see in the chat, how was the aspect ratio? The aspect ratio is I probably assume chosen for performance reasons. Now in photo mode, you can remove the 23:9:1 aspect ratio and go for a 16:9 image.
and my frame rate dropped a
whatever.
lot on PC when I did that.
Right. But it's also a cinematic choice. The whole game, when you're playing it, almost think of it, again, it's a narrative adventure. You are going in and you are, all of those times where Nick complains about, I don't want to watch a video game, I want to play one. This is walking that line of interactive narrative entertainment, right? So you do get to do all the things and you are in control, but you are being told a story. And that's integral. That is the focal point of the whole thing. Everything around it, the combat, the puzzles, is gamifying ways of communicating that story to you. That's what it is, in my opinion. So yeah, play it on a big screen. Don't worry about the black bars. You don't notice them because it looks so fucking gorgeous all the time. And there you go. That's it. That's Hellblade 2. What else have we got in the news? Microsoft did Microsoft build.
That
Oh,
they
go on, what did we
just
miss?
announced earlier, like an hour ago, is this redonkulous looking custom console they're giving away. Give me a sec.
Oh god, yeah,
Yeah.
With the talkie stick. The story
Yep.
stick is attached.
Let me show it here. So yeah, they're doing this giveaway right now on the X, which they call Twitter, in all the cool places. Xbox Series X custom controller, and they've got a good old totem that looks like it lights up. I don't know. It might just be a lighter color in there. I doubt it lights up, but it would be really cool if it did. And it's all on a bunch of rocks, and you can win that on Twitter.
That's so ridiculous.
I know.
Who would put that in their lounge? Can you imagine it? But still, there's a part of me that wants it. Yeah. There you go. There you go. Go enter it if you really, really want to get it. And hold your own weird pagan rituals in your front room. The soundtrack could help. Next up, Microsoft held their build conference and their big hoo-ha. All the Windows journos in the world gather to listen to Microsoft talk about what's next for Windows. On the gaming side of things, on the Windows side of things, Microsoft are releasing some very competitive Surface devices that they demonstrated live, outpowering Apple's laptops and M3 chips, or whatever they're called.
Yeah, their MacBook
M1,
Silicon.
I don't know. Yeah.
M series Silicon.
But always a big focus from Microsoft on AI. And to the gaming industry's horror, Microsoft AI is coming to video games. This is a byline by the one and only Jez Corden from Windows Central, who writes, Microsoft AI will be inside Minecraft and other Xbox PC games. New Copilot, that is the name that Microsoft are giving to this AI feature, will search your inventories, offer tips and guides. I'm sure that will really, really please all of those websites that survive purely on guide generating revenue, as the AI just rips all of their hard work.
Makes me happier that we haven't gone down the guide, because we could have done guides for Hellblade 2, and I was like, I'm gonna die if I try and do these guides. This is so boring.
It's not us.
Going through and replaying this section just to say, okay, after you do this fight, walk right instead of left. There's a thing. Okay. After this, to get this thing, walk up on this rock and look this way, and you'll get the puzzle. It's like,
Listen to me as my soul is slowly destroyed over 1,000 words.
Like, people wonder, like, what is so big about IGN? IGN is a humongous guide site. Like, that is their main thing, it feels like. They have a huge 20-plus person guide team. It's so much of what they do because it just makes the most money. Reviews don't make shit.
It's true. Like it's
Love
worth
you, patrons.
saying. Like Hellblade 2, like our review's done some decent numbers this morning so far, like decent for us, if you know what I mean. But anyone thinking that we slap high numbers or low numbers or any of that nonsense to try and generate revenue, we're not big enough, guys. Like the reviews, it makes us no money. The reviews are for the people that are in our community that want to hear what we think. And it's supported by the lovely patrons. And if you want to become one of those heroic individuals, you can head to patreon.com/XboxEra or become a YouTube member right here. But if you're not willing to be legend and do one of those things, do us a favour and hit the like button, because that does help us out with the old algorithm. At a bare minimum, come on, help a brother out. But yes, Microsoft Copilot, a suite of tools based on OpenAI's ChatGPT to help users with everyday queries, writes Jez. And they demonstrated they demonstrated AI gaming features at the event. How do I craft a sword in Minecraft? And Copilot will search your Minecraft inventory and help you craft it. I can't say that I particularly love that idea. It feels like an answer searching for a problem. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? Like, we want to make a focus of AI. Let's come up with a problem that we can solve. Here's the answer to this thing that no one wants. Mm-hmm. I'm not sold.
A lot of people get mad at Microsoft for their Xbox and how dare they shut down studios, right? As London studio gets properly closed today. It's like shutting down studios is dog shit and everyone hates it, but it's not unique. The uniquely shitty thing about Microsoft is their relationship with OpenAI, who suck. Allegedly asking Scarlett Johansson, hey, can we use your voice for our new upcoming voice thingy? And she said,
because we saw the film Her.
And she went, no, please don't. And then when they put it out, one of the voices just sounded exactly like her. Because that is what OpenAI has done, is pretty much just, we're building our entire platform, scraping data from YouTube and all these other places, allegedly, that we haven't gotten permission for. Which is why the New York Times, I think, is suing them for $10 billion for scraping all of their historical articles and shit, because they just didn't get the permission to do it, allegedly. If shocking. You want to hate Microsoft, hate this dumb AI shit, because they're working with a really shitty company, allegedly. Allegedly shitty. We're getting big enough, I have to say, allegedly and possibly. But in my heart,
we don't want to be sued.
Yeah. Got to get that through to Nick.
Yes. Allegedly is a very important word in the supposedly world that we live in. But could it be the death of game guides?
No.
I don't know.
It'll never be good enough. Unless it is unbelievably easy in comparison to just find in a game, and it's almost okay enough, maybe it would hurt. But on the most part, people are just used to pulling up their phone, saying, how the hell do I do blank, blank, blank? And then it pops up from 30 guide sites, and so they'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah, and as I mentioned, and I'm only literally going to one-liner this, at this event, as I mentioned earlier, they did unveil their first sort of PCs with Copilot built in. The Surface Pro 11 with an OLED screen and a Snapdragon X is finally there. This is from Zach Bowden over at Windows Central. Wireless type covers, all-day battery life, yada, yada,
The big
yada.
thing is the conversion. Cool. The big thing for gaming is their ARM. So it's converting x86 to ARM, working great, outperforming, insane battery life. Handheld. Xbox handheld.
Bring on
ARM.
the handheld.
This is the type of stuff they need to have ready for ARM Xboxes to be a possibility. And it is. If what they've said is true. Allegedly.
Supposedly. In other news, Game Pass celebrated another success for the developers of Little Kitty Big City as it hit 1 million Game Pass players.
Tell
1 million
Don
people.
Johnston. He'll be very upset.
No, Game of the Year, Little Kitty Big City.
I made a couple of offhand jokes about how obvious Game of the Year contender, Little Kitty Big City, and people took it seriously. And it's like, how fucking stupid are you? No,
I just like cats.
I enjoyed the demo of the game. I gave it a 7.5. I think it's a really fun little 3 to 5 hour thing. Like, it's fun.
Yeah.
If you like cats, if you like cutesy little games, especially if you got kids, and you don't have to worry. There's no death. There's no injuries. It's just a relaxed, great game for pretty much anyone who wants to play it. Cute cat, looks nice, fun little collectathon.
Yeah. In fact, we'll talk a little bit more about it in depth because we're definitely going to record another episode of Day One this week. Maybe we'll do it tomorrow. Let's record some segments for Day One.
Okay.
Which, in case you didn't know, is yet another show that is afforded to be created because of our Patreon community support. So we really appreciate you. Next up, Nintendo continues the acquisition season, starting a new one. The summer of
sell-off, really.
Yeah, the Embracer fire sale. They're taking advantage. They've acquired Shiver Entertainment for Embracer Group. Who are Shiver Entertainment, you might ask? Well, they are the developers that ported Harry Potter. Hogwarts Wizarding World.
Hogwarts Legacy. 2 words, that's it.
That's the one. Thanks. I got there in the end. They ported that in a miracle port over to the Switch.
It wasn't a good port, as in that game never had a chance of actually being good, but it works.
But they did it,
and people didn't sue, so it was like, about as much as you could expect. Fun game,
indeed. In other news, Baldur's Gate developers Larian Studios have also opened a new office in Poland. As you may recall, last week, Activision opened up a new studio in Poland as well. Everywhere Entertainment, I think, or Elsewhere Entertainment.
Elsewhere, yeah.
One of those. Elsewhere. A hotbed for competitive rates.
A hotbed
great
for
talent.
very talented and not having to be paid as much talent.
Yeah, not based in San Francisco.
Yeah.
Talent in the game industry. Go.
This is Larian.
So all of the big publishers.
Larian is independent. Absolutely, but this is their 7th studio. Wow. So when people say, Baldur's Gate 3 is going to set the standards, like, no. Larian is a unicorn. They are the only, and even Baldur's Gate was them getting a huge budget that they don't normally have, a ton of time. Like, Baldur's Gate 3 was special in a ton of different ways. I'm very curious what they do next. I never jived with their style just because of time commitments. Like, you have to really commit to those games, and I've been jumping around stuff so much for the past few years that as much as I enjoyed Baldur's Gate 3, I never got more than like 20 hours in before I just got pulled away by too much work. So yeah, very curious what they do next. They said it's not going to be, they've got 2 things in the works. They're not going to be Baldur's Gate in scope, because that game really was just a culmination of a decade plus of engine work and all these things coming together to really make a particular situation.
Yeah. But cool for them, and it's great to see some growth in the industry, especially this time of year, this atmosphere that we're in of studio closures and job losses and yada yada yada. So good for Larian. Other news, we got a new trailer for Multiversus, which is coming
relaunched
later on.
Yeah,
it's launched.
It is relaunching. So Multiversus was out in beta for a while. Now it's coming back. Unreal Engine 5 glow up, and it showed off some new characters. Those being Agent Smith from The Matrix and Jason Voorhees from Friday the 13th. They had already showed off the Joker. They had already showed off Banana Guard. People were very confused why Banana Guard from Adventure Time was put in. It's because they have a PvE mode now where you can go through and fight weaker people and, go through stuff. And so having like a little side character like Banana Guard made sense. So Multiversus is the Warner Brothers IP Smash Brothers game that people really liked, but when it first launched, it then, like, the characters it was putting out, it wasn't the big hitters people wanted. They put out 2 Gremlins in a row. Gizmo and one other one, and people were like, ugh. And then it disappeared for like a year, even though people had spent money on it. A year or 2. But yeah, so it's coming back, and people are tentatively excited. The end.
Yeah, it's I'm looking forward to playing it again on relaunch. We'll have to do some multiplayer, like, community nights, because we can do like I think 8 player, right? So it'd be a good laugh to get some fun games going, because I love Smash Brothers. And if it can scratch that itch in a more multi-platform way, great. Also, Nintendo, please release Smash Brothers on higher powered machines so I can play them there in better everything, because I love that game.
Much better input latency would be nice.
Yeah.
That's always the
But
thing
you
that
can't
gets...
play without a GameCube controller.
No.
Tricky. There'll be one for PC. Next up, this is a weird story.
Yeah.
Prison Architect 2 developer Double 11 has parted ways with Paradox Interactive after 9 years on the series. So they've been working on Prison Architect 2.
It keeps getting delayed. It was supposed to be up months ago.
Yeah. It was unveiled in January. It got delayed into May, and now it's coming out in September. But now the developer that has been working on it for X number of years is no longer working on it. They've parted ways. How bizarre.
Paradox has been having some issues like this. A very almost similar feeling situation happened around that game that was in Game Pass last year. The 1920s tactical one. I can't remember the name. Lamplighters League. Which, if it worked, or if it works now, fun game. Very enjoyable, except for I spent 35 hours in that game, but my save file was only about 5. Because every time I would do a couple levels, it would revert back. Every time I stopped playing for any reason. I would have to play the entire game through. So, but yeah, the Paradox have been... And then I think Paradox might be City Skylines. Another game that's still not out on console, even though it's, launched in a very rough state on PC because it is the most CPU and memory intensive friggin' thing of all time because it is simulating everything in a giant city.
Everything.
I've seen channels try and put a Threadripper that's 40 Xboxes worth of CPU in there and it struggles. It's like ooh, sheesh.
Yeah, that's a demanding title to say the least.
Got a super chat.
We have Austin T, $4.99 super chat, says, I'm here live for once. That's how excited I imagined that you were to be here live for once. I'm usually in the office, but I'm sick today. Well, okay, maybe it was more like this. I'm live here for once.
I was puking in my car earlier, and some weird bald guy looked at me.
The production value on Hellblade 2 review, chef's kiss. I appreciate that. I thought a little montage at the intro to bring in some epicness was necessary.
Montages are fun, man.
It still blows my mind that our review, which, let's be honest, will probably not even break 2,000 views, is sitting there in glorious high fidelity 4K, and IGN's review is 1080p.
I'm very curious what their pipeline is like. Maybe because we are lucky in that we generally, you and I, we do all our own stuff. We play, write,
we're multi-talented.
Record audio, and then do our own video. And I'm guessing companies like that, their pipeline is someone writes it, maybe they read it, not always. Then they've got to upload all their video, and then somebody else is going to make the video. And when you have bigger file sizes, and the guy who did it is Australian, and their internet's known for being very bad, maybe it is just an
Australian
issue.
In Australia?
Yeah, I don't know. It depends. Maybe there must be reasons, but I don't think they do anything in 4K. So that's probably not it. They uploaded some gameplay in 4K, but the actual review and all that, no, it's always 1080p.
I wonder if it's a data-driven decision, which is basically, the majority of people don't care and they watch it on their phone. That literally might be that simple. Mm-hmm. But I care, internet. And I care what it looks like when you watch it.
It's hosted on YouTube, so it doesn't even cost you extra.
Who cares? Yeah. Anyway, last two stories then. EQT is in advanced talks to buy Keywords Studios,
who you've never heard of, but they're very big.
Yes.
They do
EQT is
everything support-wise. They'll help you make your game. They'll help you dev. They'll help you write. They'll help you QA. They'll help you market. They'll help every part of trying to make a video game.
Yeah. And if you've never heard of EQT, they are a European private equity group.
Yeah, those are the worst things. Hate them. Private equity groups keep buying things. Like one bought KFC, the restaurant, then they bought KFC, then started leasing KFC's land back to themselves. It all just ends up feeling like allegedly a pyramid scheme to make money. Like the people who bought Red Lobster did the same thing. But also one of them was a shrimp company. And so that shrimp company started becoming the only supplier of shrimp for Red Lobster, who was then doing endless shrimp and losing tons of money on it, but the investor was making tons of money on it, and it's just all that type of shit. And then now the company dies. Like, it's like Toys R Us was a company here in America that did just fine business-wise, got sold to a private equity place, and then was shut down within a few years because it's a pump and dump. They just want to they buy it for a little.
They want their money.
Do what they can to make money, and then just get rid of it and take a loss in bankruptcy. That never ends up hurting rich people.
Yeah, it sucks. It sucks. But yeah, there you go. And then last but not least, Ubisoft have promised, unusually, one might say, that Xdefiant will have no pay-to-win mechanics. All paid content that affects gameplay can be unlocked through challenges. This is a byline by Chris Scullion over at Video Games Chronicle. So Xdefiant, lots of delays. It's coming out today. I want to say it's coming out today.
Mm-hmm.
It is coming out today. Yes, we will have some coverage on it, I think, from Gyozo Baki, a.k.a. Fairy Empire, who's...
Gyozo. Every time he says it to me, and I never get it right, but it's like Gyozo. Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel bad because I can't
but yes,
say
it's coming out today. Despite the game's free-to-play nature, says Chris Scullion, there are no pay-to-win mechanics, according to Ubisoft. Non-cosmetic content can be bought with real money, but it can also be earned through gameplay.
Yeah, it's pay to skip.
Any gameplay impacting content that is purchasable is also unlockable through challenges to ensure fair play amongst our community. There you go. That's nice, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how long Xdefiant lasts. Apparently, it's good fun. So I'll look forward to reading Fairy Empire's thoughts when he has it all put together. We'll probably do a video on it. But that's about it.
We got a fun new comment on your Hellblade 2 review. From this point forward, XboxEra can't bash on any walking third-person, over-the-shoulder Sony template game. The next time we review one, we'll make sure not to.
Yeah. We rarely get to play them.
Their PR is the quietest. Boop. Boop. Oh, it's gone. Oh, shit.
Yeah.
We also don't have to leave up comments we don't care for.
Yeah. Like, and there's people, oh my God, XboxEra is deleting comments. They're like, yeah, we don't have to listen to people insult us.
Yeah, we try
have
to
control to just erase that. It's great.
Yeah, when you're just here to troll, when it's obvious it's not here to have a discussion about shit, there's no value, so it goes away. It doesn't have to be positive. Yeah. It can be constructive criticism, not shitty trolling criticism, which is 99% of comment sections, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Like I was going through some reviews, some other YouTube, like the IGN review and stuff, and it's like, there's just dozens and dozens of shitty, dumb console warring. It's like, the moment you let that fester, it just takes over everything, and you lose all the actual good discussion you can have. So people are like, oh, you're like Nazi Gestapo. And it's like, no, you're not here to actually talk about anything. You're just here to try and shit on things and because you're so used to the people who that's their entire personality or channel. They don't actually have anything of value to say. They just want to troll and do dumb shit to get engagement, and you fall for it. It's like clickbait. You are the audience, the dummy that is like, ooh, shit. Yes, shit in my face. Oh, delicious. Like, no, we don't want that. No shitting in faces here. Yeah. No shiza. None.
Yeah. It's all good. It's all good. Look, it's a great game. Go play it. Yeah, is it a one and done? Yeah, if you want it to be. There's a little bit more to go and uncover, and a little bit more of an understanding of the character's intentions to be gleaned. But you can play it as a one and done, and you can because it's a Game Pass game. So go and do that if that's what you want to do. But I would absolutely, if you want to show something off on your OLED, this is the game. This is the game to do it with. But anyway, I think that's about it for headlines today. We'll be back on Thursday for another episode as we catch up with all the news from today onwards. And we'll be back on Saturday with the full crew returning at full strength to the XboxEra podcast, which would be nice after a month of weird flip-flopping from me. And I'm looking forward to it. It'd be nice to get everybody back in the room.
Coverage-wise,
I appreciate it. What we got?
There's not a lot coming this week.
Now,
Things start coming, so I'm only working on 3 reviews at the moment. They're all far off. Hypercharge Unbox comes out end of the month. Humanity comes out on Game Pass end of the month. And hashtag Blood, BLUD from Humble Games comes out in middle of June. So those will be my next 3 unless something else hits. I've also got confirmation, should be on the list for the little game that's in my background here. Elden Ring, Shadow of the Erd Tree. So I'll probably be streaming more Elden Ring because I have to get to Moog and kill him so that my save is in the right spot. So anyone wondering, if you've played Elden Ring and you want to play the expansion, your save file has to have Star Scourge, Radan, and Moog from the friggin' underground area. They both have to be dead. And then you can get into the expansion area from Moog's arena.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's...
I'm just looking... some discussion again on Hellblade 2 here to just wrap things up. How true is the Xbox tax, says Woodstar Forges. Jones says journalists and a lot of people just hate Xbox no matter what. It's sad. Woodstar Forges says, point to remember on the Hellblade 2 reviews, the people who loved the first but don't like the second loved it when it was a PlayStation exclusive and now don't like it when it's an Xbox exclusive. Look, you know the sentence, Microsoft just make good games and everything will be fine? It isn't true, right? They have the broadest variety in genre. The industry is what it is. And I think, if you start to look at, why are Microsoft releasing all of our exclusives everywhere? Perhaps they've just turned around and said, you know what? Fuck it. Fuck it. Let's just make our money. And maybe at this point now, we probably can't blame them for that. Anyway, that's it. We're going to wrap up the show with that inflammatory comment. And we'll see you guys on Thursday and on Saturday. Until then, go play Hellblade 2. Jesus Christ, it's fucking amazing. See you next time.
Ciao for now.